Hey YouTube, I'm Kishan, and in this video we are going to implement the login with Google, Facebook and GitHub using Firebase. So I will quickly log in with Google. If the associated email ID is not present in MongoDB, then it will create the new user, and for that you have to give a unique username here. So I will give a username which is not unique here, and if it is not available, then it will have this red border and an error message here that username is unavailable. And if I create the user, you will have that username already used. Now I will have something as unique, and yeah, this username is available. And here JavaScript debouncing functionality is used to reduce the number of API calls. So what does that mean is an API call is not made on a single keystroke, it is called on multiple keystrokes. You can see that here. You can see that only 2 API calls were made here. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let's give a unique username here again. And this is going to be Kishan. And yeah, let's create the user. Let's pick an avatar. Okay, that's it. Our user was created. Now let's log out. And if I log in with Facebook and GitHub, if the same email ID is associated with Facebook and GitHub, then it will not sign up a new user. It will just log into the system. So let me do that. I have associated a same email ID with Facebook and GitHub. It will just log me into the system. So yeah, that's it. Everything is working. So yeah, now without wasting any further time, let's get started. And also I have this GitHub repo open. Now if you want to follow along with me, you just have to download the source code by going to the branch. If you are following the second tutorial, then you have to go to the first branch and get the code, and you can follow along with the code. And if you want the latest code, then it would be the number of tutorial which we are doing. So currently we are doing the login with Google, Facebook and Twitter. So you have to head over to this branch and you have to download the source code. So you will be able to see the changes that I have made, or you can just go to here in the commit sections and check out the changes that I have made here. Also, if you want to see the upcoming features of the chat application, head over to projects here and go to real-time chat application and check out all the features that are currently being developed by me, and these are going to be the upcoming tutorials. So yeah, without wasting any further time, let's get started. I'll just give you a quick demo how to set up the project. So I'm gonna head over here, change the branch to number 1, head over to code, and I'm gonna download this source code and set up it. Download zip. I'm gonna just copy this to my desktop. Just pause the recording. And okay, so I have downloaded the code and opened a new VS Code terminal. So I'll open a new terminal by new terminal here. Head over to public first. Hit yarn to install the dependencies. While this is being installed, I'll open a new terminal. Head over to server directory. Again type yarn. And let's wait for dependencies to install. Let's start by yarn start. Yarn start. So we might need to change something inside the server, which is head over to env and change this localhost to 0.0.0 if you are getting a database error because of the Nodejs versions. So I'll again hit yarn start, and yeah, it was successful. And I will go to public, again yarn start, hit the React, start the React application. Let's close both of these and let's sign out. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just open my MongoDB and I'm gonna delete the user which is currently for my Google account. So this would be Kishan21. I'm gonna delete this. That's it. And now let's get started. Yeah. So now let's have the buttons initially here. So now let's create the component for that login button. So Let's head over to public source, and inside the components I'm gonna create a new component named as social login buttons. Social login buttons dot jsx. Alright, RFC here, and let's do one thing. Inside of the social login buttons, we remove this text, and this is going to have button, which is going to have a type of button. Inside that, I'm gonna have a BS Google component, which is imported from React icons. So import from React icons, and this is going to from BS package, BS Google. That's it. Now let's do one thing. Let's import this component inside the login file. So let's head over to login.jsx, and here after this login button, I'm gonna add social login buttons. That's it. Let's check here. Yeah, we have this our Google one. We have to style it, but it's here. Let's do the same for Facebook and GitHub. So I'm gonna copy this. This is going to be as Facebook, and it is auto imported at top here. You can see that, and this one would be as GitHub. That's it. Now let's refresh this. Yeah, that's it. Our icons are here, and let's give this some styles. So for that, let's head over to this login.jsx, and here we have to make a single change. Instead of this button, we'll have a class name of btn and provide that class name here, class name btn, because the styles were conflicting. Now I'm gonna have const container is equals to styled dot div, and replace the divs with the container. That's it. Now we'll able to give the styles here. So let's give it a display of flex, a width of 100%. Then we'll give it a justify content of center. Let's save it and check it. Yeah, they are here. Let's give it a gap of 1 rem. Also give it a background color of transparent, background color of transparent. That's it. And now we are gonna copy the styles of button from here. Let's copy this, and I'm gonna do one thing. Have the button here, paste it here. Let's check. Yeah, it's here, and replace the background color with transparent here. Color would be white. Then let's give it a border of 0.1 rem, and this is going to be solid, and the color would be 4e 0e. This is 4e 0e ff, and remove the border none from here. That's it. And we are going to have a padding of 0.8 rem to top, bottom, left and right. That's it. Let's check. Still it's not looking perfect. Let's give it a font size. Font size would be around 1.5 rem. That's it. Now let's increase the gap for this. So gap is 1 rem here. It's perfect. Yeah, I think everything is perfect. No need to change anything. Google, Facebook, and GitHub. Let me check if there are any changes. Yeah, we should also give it a display of flex. Display flex. Justify content. This is content center. Align items center. That's it. Let's check it out. Yeah, this is looking great now. So yeah, that's it. Let's do the same for the sign up page. So I'm gonna head over to sign up. Okay, that should be register page, not sign up. Register.jsx, and after this button here, we will have our social login buttons. Social login buttons. Let's save, and for the styles to apply, we'll have to apply a class name here of class name would be btn, and change this button here to .btn. That's it. It's working for login and sign up both. Now let's do one thing. On the click of this, let's connect with Firebase, and for that first we'll have to create a new Firebase project. So yeah, let's do that. So this is the Firebase website, and head over to go to console here, and we are going to create a new project. So this is going to be chat app. Continue default account for Firebase, create project, wait for the project to be created. Okay, so the project has been created. Hit continue. Use this. Now we want the code for web, and this is going to be chat app, register app. Wait for the registration to be completed for your project. Now we might need to install this Firebase dependency. So copy this, and what we are going to do is head over to our VS Code, open the front-end terminal, this public one, and we are going to add the Firebase package by yarn add Firebase. Wait for this to be completed. While this is being done, let's head over to this utils directory and create a new file, firebase config.js. F would be capital, Firebase config, and what we are going to do here is we'll export the Firebase config from here. So for that, we have to copy this Firebase config from here, paste it here, and import some packages accordingly. So now let's start our application by yarn start. Close the terminal, and here we'll have, let's do that. Let's use the functions. It would automatically import everything. So const app is equals to initialize app. So it is not auto imported, we have to import it. So import from Firebase /app. So this is going to be initialize app. I think we made a spelling mistake. Initialize app, and inside the app we'll pass Firebase config, and now we'll export Firebase auth variable. Firebase auth equals to get auth, and this also has to be imported manually. Import get auth from Firebase/auth. That's it. Okay, so this setup is complete. Now head over to here, continue to the console, and inside the build, head over to this authentication, and here hit get started. Now we'll switch on this additional provider of Google, enable it. So this is the project. Select your email, save it. So yeah, that's it. Now we'll also add new provider of Facebook. So for that you have to grab the app ID and app secret. So head over to this learn more, and here we'll have to search for Facebook, for web, Facebook login, and here we'll head over to Facebook for developers. Then you have to head over to my apps, and you have to create a new app. So we'll create a new app. This is going to be none. Next, app name would be chat app contact email, nothing needed here. Create app, my password, never. And now head over to dashboard, and from here you'll head over to settings of basic. We have to grab this app ID and app secret. So copy the app ID, enable this here, paste the app ID, copy the app secret, paste it here, and copy this callback URL. Okay, so we have to head over to dashboard and create a new Facebook login by setup. This is for web, and for the site we have to copy this localhost site, paste it here, remove the login, and if you are hosting this you have to change this site URL. Save, continue, next, next, next. That's it. And head over to the settings here, and in here we have to paste this URL from the Firebase here. That's it. Save changes, and yeah, our Facebook login has been set up successfully. Now let's hit save. Let's do the same for GitHub. Add new provider, GitHub, and again let's head over to learn more, filter for GitHub. This is going to be web, GitHub. Head over to register your app here, and if you have already logged into your GitHub account, this page will automatically be opened. So here I will have chat app YouTube. The homepage URL would be this. Remove the login route, and if you are hosting this website you have to change this accordingly. Description is optional, and inside the authorization callback URL we are going to copy this, paste it here, register application, and now we have the client secret and client ID. So this requires authorization. I'll do it. Okay, so this is my client secret. I'll just paste it and grab the client ID, paste it, and yeah, we are done. That's it. Update the application and we can close this and this. So our setup for Facebook, Google and GitHub is complete. Now let's head over to our VS Code and head over to social login buttons here and do our magic here. So inside the social login buttons, we'll have to create the on-click listeners for this buttons. So for that, initially what we'll do is const Firebase login equals to async function with login type as parameter, and this is going to be a function. That's it. Now inside this buttons, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have an on-click listener here. Call the Firebase login here, Firebase login, and pass the parameters accordingly. This is going to have Google, this is going to have Facebook, and this last would have GitHub. That's it. And inside of here, we'll first have try catch block, error, console.log error, and now what we are going to do is we are going to have some providers. So const providers is going to have an object, and for every key we are going to have a provider. For Google, we are going to have the Google provider of Firebase. So we'll have Google auth provider and call this function. Then we'll have Facebook. This is going to have new Facebook auth provider. Then we'll have GitHub. This is going to have new GitHub auth provider. That's it. Inside the try block, what we are going to do is const provider is providers of login type. So from here we'll pass the login type of Google, Facebook or GitHub, and we'll grab the provider from this provider's object and use that to have the user data. So now we'll have await sign in with pop-up, sign in with pop-up. This is also again a Firebase function. We'll pass the Firebase auth which we created inside the Firebase config. So this is Firebase auth, and pass the provider. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to console the user data here and refresh, open the console, hit the Google button. So this will open this. We'll select the account and we have the credentials here. That's it. Now this is for Google. I'll do the same for Facebook. Continuous question, and this is gonna throw us an error because I was trying to do the same login with same email IDs. So I have same email ID associated with Google, Facebook and GitHub, and this email ID was already associated here inside here. So it will throw an error. To fix this, what we will do is we'll head over to settings inside the authentication and we will check this option of create multiple accounts for each identity provider. So I'll save it. I'll hit refresh. I'll log in with Facebook. Let's do one then. I'll log in with Google first. Okay, so we have our Google credentials. We have our Google email ID. Then let's do the same for Facebook. Okay, so we have the data here, and let's do the same for GitHub. Authorize. Now, if you can see that inside this one is for Google, this one is for Facebook, and this one is for GitHub. So inside here you can see that we have this user object, and inside we have this email which gives us our email. And for Facebook, when we open this user, we get a null value for our email. So we get our user data inside this provider data and inside the array, and this 01 has our email value, and same is for GitHub. So what we'll do is we'll conditionally grab the data of everything. So let's do that. Okay, so now here I'll remove this console, and instead of that I'll have email equals to user data dot user and email. We'll check using the ternary operator. If we have the email, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy it and return it the email, or else what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this email, and instead of that I'll have the provided data, and we need the 0th element, and that will have the email. That's it. So that will return us the email. Let's check it. Console.log email, and I'm gonna have the login type here, so that's easy to understand. Refresh this. Here I will use the Google. Okay, so now I will hit Google. Okay, so now we have our email here. Let's do the same for Facebook. This is for Google. This is for Facebook, and let's do the same for GitHub. So yeah, we have email from all the 3 logins. Let's remove this console, and now what we are going to do is we are going to create an API for Firebase login. So what that API will do is it will just give us the true or false value, the boolean value, if the user is already in the database or not. So for that we are going to create the Firebase login route. So what we are going to do here is head over to server controllers and user controller. After this register, I'm gonna have module dot exports dot Firebase login equals to async, and this is going to have request, response, and next. Now we will have a try and a catch block. Catch will have error. We'll pass that error to our next function, error, and inside the try block, first we'll grab the email from request.body, then what we'll do is we'll have, first we'll check if there is an email. If there is an email, then what we are going to do is we'll grab the user from user.findOne method and pass in the email parameter here. If there is a user with the given email ID, then it will provide the value inside this user, or this would be the empty. Now we'll check if there is a user. Then what we'll do is we'll first delete the password by delete user.password, because we don't want to send the password to front end, and we'll return the response.json as status as true, and we are gonna have to pass the user here. That's it. Again, we'll have an else block here. This is going to return response.json. This is going to have a status of false, and the message would be email not found in database, welcome new user. That's it. Now let's have this Firebase login here. Head over to routes inside the auth, and what we are going to do is create a new route here of router.host. This is going to be Firebase login, and the function would be Firebase login. That's it. Now let's head over to social login buttons. Before that, let's head over to API routes, and here we'll have export const Firebase login route equals to $host. This is going to be host /API/auth/Firebase login. That's it. Head over to social login buttons, and here what we'll do is we'll have const of data. Let's destructure the data is equals to await. This is going to be await axios.host, and we'll have to pass the Firebase login route, and with that we'll pass in our email. Now if the user with the data provided is found, then we'll check it with the if condition data.status. If the status is true, then what we are going to do is we'll set the local storage with the user. So for that, let's head over to login.jsx, and I'm going to copy this code snippet here, just this. Head over to social login buttons, paste it here, and for navigate, what I'm going to do is const navigate equals to use navigate hook. That's it. If the user is found and the status is true, set the user to local storage and navigate to the /route, which is the chat container. And if the user is not found, then what we are going to do is we'll have to navigate to set username page. This is a new page for setting the username if the user is new, because all the user in our MongoDB database needs a username. So that's it. So yeah, that's complete. Let's do on the login with Google. And since we don't have this kishenshed21@gmail.com inside our MongoDB database, it redirected us to the set username page, and as there is no route matched as set username, there is a blank page. So now let's do that. For that, we might need to create a new component here. So this is going to be a page set username .jsx, write rfce. Sorry, this is going to be rfc, because default for we are going to need the default functions for the lazy and suspense. So let's head over to app.js, and here const set username is equals to lazy, and we are going to import /pages/ and we need the set username component. Let's use that here. Before the /route, and the path is going to be set username. Element is going to be the set username component. That's it. Let's head over here, and we have the console of set username here. Not console, the div. So now let's do one thing. Let's copy some clutter code. So for that, I'm gonna head over to this login.jsx, copy this entire component, head over to set username, paste the entire component here, remove this login to set user name, and I'm gonna remove the things that are not needed here. So let me check what is needed and what is not needed. Give me a minute. And initially these is needed, and toast options are also needed. Then so now here this is needed. This handle change would be needed, but this is going to be changed. So after that, we'll remove this password from here, this else if block, and this is going to be username is required. Username is required. Username, and for this we are going to change the condition. So this is going to be username.length is less than 3. Okay, not that. This one less than 3, and this is going to be values. We don't need this. That's it. So for now, handle submit would be the same. We'll do the changes in it afterwards. So inside the form container, what we are gonna do is remove this brand. Let's keep this input of text for username. Remove this input for password. We don't need this, and this span. Save it. Let's check. Yeah, so the basic things are done. Let's do one thing. After this input, have span and check username availability. That's it. Text is here, and this is not going to be login. This is going to have a text of create user. That's it. And yeah, that's it. So let's remove the styling for brand, and let's keep this. Let's remove the style for A. That's it. Now let's remove this hover effect. That is also not needed. Focus is same. Now here let's have a div of class name row and wrap the input inside it. With this, we are going to have a label here. Label would have class name, and label would be a state. So let's create some states here. So again, this value would not be an object here. This is just going to be simple string. After this, we'll have use state snippet, and this is going to be label and set label. Label is going to be empty string. After that, we'll have an state for email. So we'll grab the email that is logged in by the Firebase from the on-auth state change hook provided by Firebase and set it to our state of email and set email. This is going to be undefined initially, and after this we'll also have a const. Let's use the use state snippet. This is going to be username status, and initially this is going to be undefined. I'll explain why this state is being used. Give me a minute. And now what we are going to do is, first initially when this component is loaded, we'll have the on auth state changed hook provided by Firebase. Passing the Firebase auth, this will return a callback function with our user data in it, and we'll just console the user data here. User data. I'm going to refresh the page with the console, and you can see that we have the information provided by Firebase object. So we'll grab the email from here. So for that, what we are going to do is, first we'll check if there is not user data. If there is no user data, then we want to navigate to the login route, because if there is no email or the Firebase object, then this page should be protected, or else we'll set the email with the ternary operator that we created here, this one. So I'm gonna grab this ternary operator. Okay, I don't think this ternary operator is needed, because this is going to be user data dot email, and if there is email, so user data dot email, or else we'll have the user data dot provider data of 0 dot email. That's it. So yeah, this is done. So let me do one thing. What I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna remove that Firebase object that is stored in the local storage, not local storage, it would be in session storage. Let's clear it out. Refresh this. I think this should be, yeah, it's inside the index.db. Delete the database, delete the database. Okay, as soon as the database was deleted, we are redirected to the login page because of that condition. Now I'll try to hit the set username route, and it just redirected us to the login page because there was no email. So let's log in using the Facebook. And yeah, we can access the set username page. Now let's do one thing. Whenever we have the email, then only we need to show this form, or else will show nothing. So if there is email, then only show the component or the form. Grab both of these, grab the form inside of this. That's it. This is more clearer. Now what we are going to do is, let's create an API for checking if the username is available or not. So for that, we'll head over to auth.js here, not auth.js, inside the user controller, and here we'll have user controller, and again there would be another function of check username equals to async request response next. Wrap this inside try and catch. Error, next, error. Now let's destructure username from request dot body const user is equals to await user dot find one with the given username, and if there is a user with the given username, what we'll do is we'll return response dot json with status as false and message as username unavailable. That's it. And we'll have an else block here, and we'll do one thing, response.json status is going to be true and message would be username available. Username available. Full stop. Just remove this space. That's it. Now let's have this inside the auth router dot post check username, import that. That's it. Our API has been created. Let's head over to set username page, and inside of here handle change will call the API. Let's do that. So now inside here what we are going to do is change this handle change function to check username, and check username would receive the event dot target dot value, and let's create this function const check username is equals to async grab the username, and if username dot length greater than 3, then we are going to call the API that we created. So first for that we have to also create a new route, export const check username equals to, let's copy this, paste it, and this is going to be check username, and we just have to append a route here. That's it. Copy this, head over to set username, pass it here, import it, and we are going to pass the username here. After that we'll have the set username status as data.status, set label as data.message, and set values as username. Let me console the data here, console.log data, refresh the page, I'll open the console. Let's write coolcation, and yeah, username is available and the status is true. Now as you can see that at every keystroke the API is being called, and for that we are going to use the debouncing to reduce the number of calls made to the server. We'll do that afterwards. First what we'll do is we'll have the messages here. So we'll have this message here and the border around it. So let's do that. So what we did here is we called the API, set the username status as this status. If the username is available, we'll set it to true, and if it is not available, then we'll set it to false. If again we want to set that label sent from the server as username available or not available as data.message, this is that, and we'll set this username to our state variable. Now let me show you one username which has been used. I'll open up my MongoDB database, and inside of here let me refresh. Coolcation is used. Let me try to use that. Coolcation and username unavailable. Yeah, that's perfect. Our API is working perfectly. So now let's handle here. So what we are going to do is the label would be here, I think. Yeah, the label is here, username unavailable. If I change this, this is username available. So the label is here. Now let's change that accordingly. So first what I'm going to do is inside of this this here I'll have a row. Inside of that I will have label, give it a display of block, margin would be 10 pixels on top, 0 to left, 0 to right, and no, we have to give 5 pixels to left and 0 to right and bottom. Then we'll have transition property, transition to 0.3 seconds is in out for a smooth animation when we change colors, and we'll give it a height of 0.5 rep. That's it. Now we'll have a class of label.success success, and we'll give it a color of hexadecimal 39FF14. Let's do the same for label.danger. This is going to have a red color and this is going to be FF3131. This is red. So yeah, let's check it. The class names are not here because we have not given it. Let's do that rapidly. Here, let's remove this, and for class name, we're going to use this, and we'll check if username status is true, then we want to give success, and if it is not, we'll have another ternary operator here, and username status is equal to undefined. If it is not undefined, then we'll give it a danger class name, or else we want to not give any of the class name. What's the error here? Non-null assertions can only be used in TypeScript files. Don't know what error did we made here. Okay, let me do one thing. I'll just grab the code from my other file, paste it here. Username status. Okay, so I did a naming mistake, so it fixed. Now let's check it here, refresh the page, and I will give it a cool cushion. Okay, so this is working. So yeah, we also need to give a colored border to the text input. For that, I'm going to copy this class name from here, paste it here. Did we made any mistake here? Let's give it here, class name. Okay, I think we forgot to give this. Yeah, that's it. It is here, and now let's give the class name to inputs also. So for that, after this input, we'll have success and dot danger. We'll give it a border color of 39FF14 to success, and whenever this is focused, we also need to give it a border. We'll just copy this, paste it, and we are going to copy this code, paste it here, and we are going to copy this red color, paste it here, and paste it here as well. Yeah, everything is working. Cool cushion. So now we need to reduce this API calls using the debouncing functionality. So let's do that. So basically what the idea of debouncing is, it will reduce the number of API calls or any function is called using the timeout. So this is going to be a reusable function, and we are going to reuse the debounce functionality in our chat app in many places, because this improves our performance of our application drastically. So first I'll just write the code and explain it. Const debounce equals to function and timeout. Let timer return Reactjs. This is again going to return an arrow function. Clear timeout of timer. Timer equals to set timeout. In the arrow function dot apply, passing this and args, and this is going to be have in timeout. Let's give a default value to timeout as 300 milliseconds. I'll just explain the code after the functionality has been completed, so that would make more sense. So inside the set username, we are going to use it inside the set username. Where did we used it? Okay, so inside the handle change, yeah, what I'm going to do is I'll just remove everything here. We'll have debounce here and name check username function, pass in the name and a millisecond of 300 seconds. Copy this handle change and replace this with here. Now I'm gonna refresh the page, open this network tab, write cool question. Okay, there is an error, cannot read properties of undefined reading args. This, okay, I did a mistake. Head over to debounce, and this is this comma args, not this dot args. Let's try one more time. Does this work? Cool question. Okay, so only one API call was made here. Let's remove this. Try it again. Alpha question. Again, one email, one API call was made. If I take breaks, okay. So our debouncing functionality is working. So now it will, what this will do is, here inside the set username, we had this debounce function and passed in the user check username function and 300 milliseconds. So these are the function and timeout. So now what this will do is, this will check for certain amount of time that if the function was called, and it will take the timeout and call after a certain amount of time the function. And so what we do is, we define the timer here, we didn't provided any value here, then we return the arrow function with the arguments that has been provided, we destructured it, and again we cleared the timeout. If the function is called again before 300 milliseconds, so our this function would be, debounce function will be called on every keystroke, but this function will be called on the gap of 300 milliseconds. So if this function was called before the 300 milliseconds, So what we'll do is we'll clear the timeout which was provided here. So again this would be null, and we'll set the timer equals to set timeout, and we'll pass in the function dot apply. So this is a higher order function, and for the lexical scope we provided this here, and we provided the arguments that was passed to this function, this debounce here, check username. So that was passed here, and we have our timeout here. So by default we gave this a 300 milliseconds, and if we give it a 500 milliseconds from here, this function would run at every 500 milliseconds. So yeah, that's it. So that's the functionality of debouncing. So that's done, and now the only thing remains here is to, inside the handle submit, change this to register route, and we'll pass in the username from values, pass in the email, and for password what we are going to do is we'll just create a random string with math.random, then increase it by plus because that would be a floating point number. Then we'll create this to string with 20 and substring of 1. This will create a random string. We don't need the username password from values. That's it. Again, inside the validate form, what we are going to do is values.length less than 3, username is required and should be greater than 3 characters. Let's check our functionality. So what I'm going to do is hit the create user. Okay, it did create the user. I think we'll just head over to MongoDB, refresh this, delete this user which was created, refresh, head over to login. Where I think we need to delete this from application, index.db, delete database, local storage, clear, refresh the page. So yeah, now log in with Facebook, create user, username is required and should be greater than 3 characters, 1, 2, create user, again the error, 1, 2, error, ASIA, username is unavailable, let's add cool cushion, username is unavailable, let's hit create user, username already used error, let's hit alpha cushion, create user. Okay, so our functionality is working perfectly, and let's select an avatar, and our account was created. So yeah, that's it. So we successfully created the login with Facebook, GitHub and Google using Firebase. Okay, so that's it for the video, and in the next video what we are going to do is we are going to introduce the Redux toolkit for state management. So currently what we are doing is we are storing the user inside the local storage, and all the state is passed by props to the components. We don't want to do that and secure our application by using Redux toolkit for state management. So yeah, that's it. That's me, Kishan Sheth, signing out. See you in the next video.